Now you're wondering why I spent $1,500 on a Lamborghini Urus, but I had to sit in the passenger seat. Now it's because I was up 2K on the day. I mean, it wasn't a problem, but I didn't have my license yet because I was only 17. Now, I mean, this is the payment that I got. It was back in August when I was in Dubai. But the only reason that I was actually even able to close this deal for $2,000 is because of two key principles: the frame and the rapport. Now, most people have a very, very mixed conception of what rapport really is. Some people think rapport is asking them how the weather is in the first 10 seconds of the call. Some people think that rapport is, them liking you as a salesperson. No. Rapport and frame are intrinsically linked, but it all stems from the rapport which you have. Now, rapport is talking about important information, and information which is related to why they are there on the call. Now, important information is pretty much why they are there on the call, and it's information related to how their problem will be solved. Remember, they jumped on the call because they have a problem that they are aware of, that they want help fixing. Now, if you talk specifically about solutions to that problem, how the problem will be fixed, questions about what they've tried to fix the problem already, they will respect that, they will respect you, and you will gain rapport. Now, frame is ensuring that you always have rapport, which is a part of frame, right? If you have frame, you are a trusted authority. The other thing is that if you have the frame on you, it means that the prospect sees you as a trusted authority. Now, this is incredibly important because when you get to the end of the call and you start asking for commitment, right? Commitment of money, but even more than that, commitment of time. Let's work together. Let's, communicate every day for the next 3 months. That's commitment as well. And they need to see you as someone that they want to spend their time actually communicating with. So if you have the frame on you, it means not only you have rapport between the prospect, but they see you as a trusted authority. Now, it is very, very easy to lose the frame. And it's something which a lot of closers do actually do, not on purpose. One of the ways to lose the frame is when the prospect bullshits you. Right? Now, if a prospect says something to you that's just blatantly not true, and you can tell by listening, right? Listening to the prospect is the best way to catch bullshit in its stance, right? Like if your prospect says something to you and it just doesn't make sense, and you don't say anything about it, the prospect will know that they bullshit you, right? They know that they just lied to you and you didn't say anything about it. So as a result, they'll probably lie to you again. Maybe when you're objection handling, they'll lie to you again. And it's going to be much harder to then break down the lies and figure out what's real. Whereas if you actually challenge that, you go, brother, I mean, I know that you said X, Y, and Z, but this doesn't really line up, man. Like, is that really what's going on? Or if they ask you for the price, if you jump on and within 5 minutes, they're asking the price, you could say something like, okay, man, like, I typically take these calls to speak to business owners who are actually looking to get, more jobs in the Canada. To speak to closers, who are actually looking to make 30, 40, maybe even 50K a month. Now, like, if you're just here for a price, I don't think I can help you because it's my job as your coach, as your marketing agency, to make sure that I can provide you with the value that you need to specifically help you out. Like we work with guys who do 200-300K a month. We also work with guys who do under 50, right? And the day-to-day of what we actually offer them is very different, man. So it's like, do you want to have a productive conversation? Let me kind of understand a bit about where you're at, where you're trying to go, what you've tried, all of that, so I can actually help you out. Or do you want to just jump off the call now? And again, being detached from the sale is a great way to maintain the frame on you. You don't want to seem needy. You don't want to seem like you need the sale. You always want to be very detached from the outcome of the sale, which is how you will actually then make them want the sale, right? If you say stuff like, cool, man, like really, like, we don't have to do this. You don't want to have a productive conversation. We can just jump off now. They'll respect that because it shows that you're not just trying to take their money. And at the same time, you need to show them that you are trying to help them. Now, rapport and frame are very, very intrinsically linked. And there's lots of times when it comes up. For example, if at any point in the call, the prospect uses non-buyer language, such as maybe, you want to call it out. Maybe? I mean, what does that mean, man? Like, my question was more, how does this actually affect your day to day? I mean, how does it make you feel? Maybe? That's not really an answer, man. Like, if you really thought about it though. Okay, cool. And then once you understand, if they really thought about it, what it would mean for them, then you can then dissect that direct answer. The other thing, which you can kind of take into consideration, especially with keeping the frame on yourself, is that your prospect is just as aware as you are. They know that you're trying to sell them something. They know that they're on a call with a salesperson. So when they bullshit you, when they, go on their phone, if they're looking around their room and you don't say anything, they'll know that you're not serious. Don't be scared to call them out, because in some cases, you need to call them out. You need to say, hey, brother, you seem distracted. You need a minute? Or are we fine here? We're fine? Okay. 100%, man. 100%. That makes sense. Like, you can call them out, and don't be scared to call them out, because it will actually make them respect you more. It'll make them switch on, and it'll make them respect you more. Now, that's a lot about the frame. But the other thing about rapport is your tone. Now, you want to always seem very curious in your sales calls. You want to seem like you genuinely want to help your prospect. So especially when you're asking difficult questions like, and how does it make you feel? If you said it to them like, and how does it make you feel? They might get a bit of sales resistance. They might not even not like the way that you're speaking to them. But if you say it like, yeah, man, and I guess like, how does that make you feel? They'll actually respect about you. They'll want to answer it. And if anything, they'll dig deep to give you an answer which is actually justified to the curiosity which you showed. You can ask questions like, cool, man. And I guess like if, you've had this problem for the last 8 months, like, what's the reason that you haven't done anything about it yet? You don't know? Oh, okay. You don't know? And again, like when you show them that you're really curious, like you want to help them, right? Because again, if they genuinely believe that you're trying to help, then they will be much more recipient and much more receptive of your help, because you're trying to help them at the end of the day. And, if they understand that you're trying to help them out and they want your help and they jumped on the call to get help, they'll be much more likely at the end of the call to say, cool, man, yeah, let's work together. I'd love for your help. I'd love for you to help me out. Now, that's a little bit about frame and rapport. Now, the way that you can really kind of build this into your sales calls is just by looking at your sales process. Now, this is the entire thing. Although there's one thing which is quite important. Once you drop the price, you lose your leverage, right? So everything past here, you don't have the leverage which you have before. That's why you need to establish rapport and build up a frame before you actually then go ahead, you drop the price. Because everything after, you don't have the leverage anymore. So it's super duper important to make sure that your prospects respect you, that they are giving you truthful and honest answers, that they're not bullshitting you, and that they see you as a trusted authority every single second before the price drop. Now, the thing is, you can notice when they don't do this. You can tell if they're not actually respecting you, and you can tell if they don't actually respect what you're saying. But it's in their language, right? The most important thing is listening to your prospect. Because if you listen, then you can react. And if you listen to your prospect, you hear the words they're saying. If they're using non-bio language, they're, giving you one-word answers, you can call them out in it, man. You can say, brother, seems like you're, a little bit uncertain, man. Like, what's really behind that, man? Oh, it's the fact that you don't think this could actually work. Okay. And I guess like, is it just in terms of the service, or is it me? No, it's not you. It's just, I've been burned before, and then boom, you can pre-handle that. The way that I would pre-handle it, be like, okay, and these other agencies, what exactly felt about them? X, Y, and Z. Okay. Was it more like, they run the ads for you, they schedule the appointments, then, their sales team books them in, and all you have to do is show up and close the deals? Or was it more like, they generate appointments, and then you just have to call up the leads before you go to make sure they're qualified? Something like that, right? And then, they can kind of go from there, and they can kind of take you through the motions of what failed, pre-handle why it didn't work. And then whenever you share expertise, you always want to kind of pre-frame the expertise, right? Now, framing is super duper, super powerful. And when you say something, if you add a frame to it, it can have a very, very different meaning. So just to give you an example, right? Like if you said in an interview, in my last year of school, I got, a 2,400 score on my SATs, which is obviously fantastic. My last year. Without a frame, one person could say, that's amazing. Can't believe you got that amazing grade. Whereas the other person could say, oh, so you slacked off all these years before. But if you frame the statement, you say, yeah, man. And basically, throughout my entire schooling life, I really didn't, get good results. The mocks came around, I got 1600, and I knew I needed a change. And then I put in work every single day up until my final exam. So in my final year, I turned it all around. Then suddenly that statement, that same statement of, hey, I did X, Y, and Z in my final year of school, it's perceived in a very different light. And you want to do the same thing when you kind of project expertise on your prospect. Say something like, cool, man, and this is just after working with over 100 closers, all across the world. And this is just after working with about 100 contractors. What I typically see about pay-per-click is that you pay for clicks that don't actually convert. Now, I guess was there anything that worked with them? And again, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they're telling you that something happened, they didn't work, you say, what actually did work then? Did anything work? No. Yes. What worked? Okay. I mean, if it worked then, man, why did it stop working? The other frame that you could do for an objection like that is you can go and say, okay, and how long has this company been running for? 3 years. Okay. And obviously, to be running for 3 years, I'm sure you must have results. What do you think was different between people who succeeded in that program and maybe your results? Okay. So would it be fair to see that maybe it was just the infrastructure which they had, the support they had, which caused you to not get the results which you were kind of looking for? Is that fair to say? Yeah. Okay. So do you feel like we have the infrastructure to actually provide you with everything, the 6 schools a week, the community, the modules, everything which I showed you? Do you feel like that would actually help you get to where you want to go? And then boom, you've taken them from sort of results-based, so price-based thinking, scarcity-based thinking to results-based thinking. How do you feel like our program would receive the results for you? Because if you let them associate this other agency's failures with their current, futures and results, then they're going to be constantly thinking about this. But you need to shift them, reframe it to your results and the results they're going to get by taking action with you. And then they will absolutely be able to go forward and they will feel much more confident about taking a new step and a new leap with you as a new agency. Now, I mean, all of this together is pretty much how I was able to close 2,000, in one day, right? And it's just about having the frame on me. And as you can see here, I mean, the payment started at 22:01. I assume that I jumped on the call at 21. In just 1 hour, I made $2,000 because I didn't need to do 10, 15, 20 minutes of objection handling. It was one and done in an hour. I collected the payment and I got ready for my next sales call. Now, if you maintain a frame on your call, which ensures that the prospect sees you as a trusted authority, and at the same time that you have the frame, they like you. They understand that you're actually trying to help, because rapport shows them that you're trying to help, and a frame shows them that you are the person that they actually should help them, right? So when you combine the two, it's almost impossible for the prospect to then not want your help, because after showing you the process, showing you the results, showing you all the client success testimonials which you have, they'd be crazy to show you something else. Now, shoot me a follow on Instagram. And I got loads more to show you. I got to upload a actual training video I did with one of my sales teams, about an hour and a half of just pure value. So focus on the frame, focus on the report. Make sure you're talking about important information only. If they start going down tangents, if you say something and they start waffling, you can say, respectfully, man, that wasn't exactly what I asked. And again, that builds rapport because it shows them that you're not here to fucking talk about X, Y, and Z unrelated. You're here to talk about the solution to their problem, which is why they booked in the call. So by reframing their waffle, saying respectfully, man, genuinely, that's really not what I was asking. My question was more what is the impact? They're going to respect you for that. And don't be scared to actually then, challenge these people, because in fact, it will have the opposite. If you don't challenge them, you lose a sale. Don't be scared to challenge them because you lose a sale, and it's genuinely the opposite. Now, if you want to be closing deals just like this, I mean, I'm not selling anything yet. I'm really just giving out free value at this point. So just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to send you over whatever you need to start selling or, sell more deals. And I'll see you boys in the next one.